In 60 days, I need to tell my team we're done. Cancel the shoots, return the equipment, admit that maybe I'm just another failed founder with a podcast. If I don't make $50,000 by October 1st, this all goes away. But then I met the guy who gave his company 30 days to live. What happened next would make him $40 million.
We're going to shut down the company at the end of the year. So between now and then, whatever cool ideas we think we have on how to use this technology, like new product types, let's launch them because this is it. And that is where Bolt came from.
Bolt was your last swing.
It was the last swing. We were going to begin shutting down the company a month after we had launched Bolt.
He turned certain death into the world's largest hackathon. Here's how. I'm swinging at everything.
This is the first time in history you can actually go and just build something.
Everyone talks about hockey stick growth, but no one talks about the decade of failure that comes first.
It was kind of like Dropbox before Dropbox. Dropbox is a hell of a lot more than what I'm about to describe, by the way. Like the problem being, like, when you would go to school back then, it was like you had the USB flash drive. So you like do your schoolwork, you had to load it on the USB flash drive, bring it to school, bring it home. But if you like forgot it at home, a lot of teachers would just like give you an F or whatever. They're like, effectively you didn't do the work if you didn't bring this thing. It's kind of a pain in the butt. Albert actually had the idea for the thing, and he was like, let's create a site, forgetthedrive.com. That's what it was called. And basically you can upload your files there, and you can go between there and school, and you have to bring a USB flash drive. And blew people's minds. It was even after we left high school, 2010, 2011, people were using it like 4 or 5 years after. It's just like, what? At that point, it's like Google Drive is out. Microsoft has something, everything's out, but it was kind of funny. But it was like, it kind of took over that region of Illinois. It was like that. It was like the tool that like people were using to like store files, and that was cool because it was like, okay, wow, so you could actually just have an idea, go and implement it, and people use this thing. That's like unbelievable.
Eric built Dropbox before Dropbox at age 13. But then nothing worked for a decade.
I think there's a lot more in common with you and I, honestly, because I think, what we found with Forget the Drive, most of the things we tried after, that was probably 2008, maybe, or 7 or 8 or something like that. We spent pretty much a decade after that just striking out.
I know this feeling. In 2015, my startup caught fire, and I woke up to this tweet from a popular streamer, and then another one. And within a week, we had 100,000 daily active users, not monthly, daily. This was product market fit, and I'd never felt anything like it. But then I sold it, not because I wanted to, but because I was broke. I've always wondered if that was my last shot. It took Eric a lot of grit to ever feel that feeling again.
I came out here when I think it was like 18 or 19. And here is Silicon Valley. And I'm originally from the Midwest, grew up in a suburb of Chicago. Coming out here, I was broke. I wanted to, build businesses and build startups and just build great products. And so I found my way out here, raised like 20K for like one of these accelerators. And then, in Silicon Valley, that goes, through in like months. Once I ran out of money, I was like, okay, I'm 19. So my bar for, standard of living is pretty low. And I was like, they have like couches at that office building. They've got, like a shower in the gym. They have ramen that's like, stocked and stuff. And so I was like, I could probably just like live out of here for like, a couple days or a week or something. And then that turned into like 4 months or 5 months until they finally caught me and then kicked me out.
He squatted at AOL for months. Meanwhile, I'm over here in a home office, steady contractors, playing it safe while losing $8,000 per month. And my daughter was just born 3 weeks early, healthy. I'm over the moon, but I did foolishly think I had a little more time to get projects out the door. Instead, I'm getting some work done in between 3 a.m. feedings.
A lot of the folks that will do this that got quotes from agencies before trying Bolt, the cost reduction is like 99%, like literally. So there was a guy who built a CRM. There was like an AI powered CRM, had an agency quote him 30 grand, and he built it in Bolt for $300. And they said it was going to take 6 months. He had it done in 3 weeks.
Wow.
And he's not a developer. Like he's not a software developer.
I've invested $60,000 this year alone, building the traditional way, hiring contractors, following mostly conventional wisdom. But if I can't figure out a path to sustainable revenue, I'm gonna have to make some changes. Which brings me to this. If you are feeling the itch to start building, I want to tell you about something I put together for you, and it was not easy. I partnered with tools that are shaping the future of product and design work. This is the UX Tools Bundle. $129 one time gets you access to over $9,000 of premium features for the rest of this year, but only to the first 1,000 that sign up. It also ends September 1st of 2025, so visit uxtools.co to jump into this bundle while it lasts. Thanks for supporting this show. This is how we keep it moving.
Really, to me, I've learned about entrepreneurship and being an entrepreneur is that if you go and read articles in the media or whatever, there's like, this visionary person had this visionary idea and like that's what made it successful or whatever, right? And so there's kind of like, okay, well, I guess I could be a visionary. I could have a visionary idea and therefore I will be successful. That's like not at all how it works. Like what it really is and I should say, like, of course there are visionary people that have visionary ideas at the right place and time with the right knowledge and skills to be able to execute on it. And that's the huge asterisk around it, is that to be at the right place and time with the right knowledge and skills it's a probability game. And so if anyone's ever worked in like sales, if you want to sell $1 million of something or whatever, the way that you would break down your sales pipeline is like, you're going to have like, maybe 100, cold calls that you do. Of those, maybe 10 turn into warm leads. Of those, maybe 3 convert, and then that's like how you get to $1 million revenue, something like that, right? But it's a complete probability game, of which most of the things that you do and the people you talk to and the ideas you have, it don't matter and go away. But it doesn't matter because as long as you turn over every stone, like probabilities, of the funnel, you will go and close deals. Same thing applies to entrepreneurship and building businesses. It's purely a game of like, how many hits at bat can you get? How many product ideas, how many iterations on those products? Like how fast can you take an idea, put it into the world, get feedback on it, iterate, rinse, and repeat? Because there's only 2 things that are going to happen. One is that it's going to work to some degree, whether it's small, large, or whatever. And that's great. It's like, okay, well, let's go and double down and iterate more, or it's not. And then you get to go and get feedback of, why doesn't this work? Like, should I go and iterate on it more? Should I kind of build a different thing that's based on this thing that people are saying is important or whatever, right? Or should I just like put that on the shelf, try out a different idea completely? And so the thing is, that's kind of the fun of it, is that you have no idea going into any of the, like when we launched Bolt, we had no idea like that it was going to explode in the way that it did. And so it's all about like showing up, like putting in your best work, and you never know what's going to happen. And
Eric talks about taking 100 swings, and I'm not precious about any single project anymore. I'm swinging at everything, like internet enjoyers, trying to produce media about creative tech that my teenagers would watch, get inspired by, maybe learn from. Or UX tools, building the insider pulse on design tools through surveys, awards, newsletters, and now memberships. Or even Lorelight, my D&D app, which might become a business, might not, but it's how we're sharpening our steel. These are my bets, my big swings, my version of Eric's probability game. And one of the ways I'm able to maintain so many swings is through AI tools and automation, but not for shipping software, not yet, but for eliminating busy work. Watch this. So my UX Tools bundle gives people access to premium plans of a bunch of modern tools, but here's the problem. I have 1,000 unique codes per tool. That's almost 10,000 promo codes to distribute to individual customers, and doing this manually would be an absolute nightmare. So I built a workflow in an automation tool called N8N. This is not sponsored, I just thought you'd like to see how I do this. Here's how it works. The purchase hits polar.sh. This triggers the workflow in N8N, which then queries the database in Notion for the next available code package. It assigns them, logs the status so they don't get reused, and then it sends the customer the email. And I just set and forget this. This probably saved me 40 hours of building and maintaining all the support requests for this bundle. That's 40 hours I can continue spending on other swings.
I was working from 6 in the morning until 2 or 3 in the morning. I was just coding nonstop on my first startup. It was just that pure entrepreneurial drive, that kept me doing that.
I remember this time at one of my many failed startups. One of my co-founders got a job at a dispensary, not for the money, but because we wanted to understand their inventory problems firsthand. That is how desperate we were to solve the problem. Eric was desperate too. He just channeled it a little differently.
And you know what worked is when we were like, all right, that's not working. Last year, this was. That shit hasn't worked for the past couple of years we've done it. We're going to shut down the company at the end of the year. So between now and then, whatever cool ideas we think we have on how to use this technology, like new product types, let's launch them because this is it. And that is where Bolt came from. Was basically
Bolt was your last swing.
It was the last swing. We were going to begin shutting down the company a month after we had launched Bolt.
October 1st, that's the date. Either UX Tools saves us or I defund the projects. Eric gave himself 30 days. In fact, one of his competitors at the time shut down 2 weeks before Bolt was launched. They both chose the same strategy, to shut down, but only one of them was reborn.
The direct competitors we had, our most direct competitors shut down 2 weeks before we launched Bolt, because that is what they did. The whole hackathon idea too wasn't even our idea. This guy KP, who I now know, and he's an amazing guy, super nice, brilliant guy. He works on growth over at Paddle, I think. But anyways, he tweeted this idea. He's like, if I was the CEO of Bolt, what I would do is throw the world's largest hackathon, have Guinness World Records certified as the largest hackathon, and have everyone come and build apps with Bolt, because this is the first time in history you could have a hackathon that's not just developers, right? So you could have literally the biggest hackathon that could have ever happened in history right now. Do it on Bolt and, have the results be live streamed, etc. It'll be the biggest marketing event of the year. And so I replied and I was like, all right, let's do it. And then the whole thing went viral because I quote tweeted and I was like, okay, so if we're going to set a world record, we need to, have a big prize, like maybe 100K. And then within a couple of hours, we had 1 million, it verbally secured, for the thing. And it just turned into this whole viral spectacle of just you can just do things. This guy tweeted a thing. We were like, let's do it. And then all these other companies poured in to be a part of it. And so I think that's kind of cool because I think if you look at a typical company, they would not be YOLOing a $1 million hackathon, especially now that we know what it takes to run one of these. I mean, it is a lot. It's a lot to do, especially at this scale. No one's done it at this scale before, right? So it's a lot of work. But any other company would be red tape, oh no, the million things that can go wrong, and is this actually the best thing we can do? Yeah, we have fun with it. The chain smokers are investors of ours, and so when they got word of it, we're like, hey, what could we do? And they're like, how about a concert? And so that was this thing got kicked off with a chain smokers concert that we had a bunch of people come out to and stuff. So we like to lean into things that are just organic and just cool and genuine, and they're going to be really high impact, which I think is exactly, this is it's so cool. This has been a fun one because it was in Q1 road mapping. This was not on the Q2 roadmap, but it popped up and we're like, we're doing this.
He went from this death date to $1 million hackathon, all thanks to one tweet. No planning, just we're doing this. And that's the same energy I'm bringing to the UX Tools bundle. I negotiated with my favorite companies, $9,000 of software value for $129. If this thing sells out, that's $129,000 we can spend to pay the team, fund our projects, continue swinging for Soul. But if it doesn't,
you fast forward 5 years, what I would really love to see happening is more entrepreneurs building businesses on the internet, making their first dollar via through Bolt, right? Via launching stores or SaaS businesses or whatever have you. And I would love to see more people that maybe even work on products today, but are actually building them. So designers or PMs, instead of just making a Jira ticket, they're actually going to Bolt and they just hit enter and it just does it. And they're crafting the product themselves. If folks have, ever had an idea for an app or a website or whatever, this is the first time in history you can actually go and just build something.
I talk to designers daily who are having these identity crises, bouncing between coding and automation and marketing, starting their own businesses. And they tell me this traditional title, designer, is feeling less and less suitable to them. In fact, more and more designers are bending tools to get things done in non-traditional ways. Like Brett Williams, who is famous for running 7-figure design agencies like Design Joy and 7form as a one-man operation. Side note, many are very skeptical about how Brett does this. So I'm gonna follow him around with the camera for a day and reveal his entire process. Stay tuned. And then there's Andy Allen, who leaves digital and uses things like 3D printing, Legos, and other physical metaphors to explore ideas for his line of not boring products. Or Marissa Chentical, who's using AI tools like Cursor or Figma Make to bring many of her charming apps to life, like her yearbook or photo booth, or even her Thai language learning app. I told Eric the only title that resonates is Dropout, but there might be a better one.
5 years from now, it's like, you should be able to build, very complicated software and applications without needing to know how to code at all. That to me is what I would hope to see, happen, and I would hope to see that reflected in how companies' org charts are set up. Like have it where designers and PMs are more empowered than ever to actually go and really craft the product, not just in Figma, but actually in the actual output app itself.
We are internet enjoyers, the ones who learn HTML to edit our Neopets pages, or pirate Photoshop at age 13. We consume to create, not to criticize. We don't create for algorithms or VCs. We create because we can't not create, and because the internet is still magic when you strip away the metrics and the reply guys. AI isn't killing creativity, it's just waking us up to it. Eric had 30 days. I've got 60. And she came early. I had this whole plan. Launch 2 shows, ship an MVP, secure the partnerships. Just in time for her birthday. But she had other plans. Now I'm writing scripts with one hand while she sleeps in the other, recording episodes in between feedings. You know what's messed up? This countdown, this pressure, it makes me better, faster, a little more focused.
Build cool, fun stuff that you want to use to solve your own problems, and be patient, because it takes time, and you have to explore every nook and cranny. Like when you're building a business, it's never like this straight line of success. There's always all these these side paths you have to go down to go and explore and whatever have you, and then the journey is long, and so it's just being patient and having grit and sticking through it. And that is where StackPut started. That is where Bolt started. That's where Forget the Drive started. All the stuff that's ever worked, it always starts there.
Follow me on YouTube as I learn to build this thing from some of the best in the business. I'll see you next time.